Hey guys, Joe here. Today I'm privileged to share with you a really cool knife from an up-and-coming company. This is the Scout by Sculpin Knife Co. I saw this knife a while back. I've had it for a couple, I believe 1 or 2 months now. And it's something where as soon as I saw it, I knew I had to have it and share it with you guys. Because they're a company that definitely deserves more attention, and I'm really looking forward to where they go in the future. But what really makes this knife stand out is the story behind it, and more importantly, the crazy price tag, because this is the most affordable custom I have ever seen and probably ever will see again. This is all American made, from the blade to the paracord to the kydex to the hardware to the clip, even the really cool box with this great scientific drawing and the cardboard cutout packaging in there. That is all American made, and you're getting it for only $65 right now. That's right, you can get an American custom in this day and age for $65. That is mind-blowing. I don't even know if they're turning a profit on these right now. That's such a great price. Even when it does bump up to normal retail, it's only going to be $75 currently. So that is just crazy. Now, because they're growing, because they're still ironing out the kinks, they have reduced the price down to $65. But even at $75, this is still better than what a lot of production knife companies are doing. And production knife companies have way more ability to cut costs and increase profits than these small companies do. So how they're doing this beats me. The next closest company that I know in this kind of range using similar materials is, $150, $200. So this is just a really great deal. This is the everyman's custom fixed blade, and it's just really designed by outdoorsmen for outdoorsmen. The brothers behind this are both avid outdoorsmen, specifically fishermen, gearheads, and they decided to take their engineering and mechanical backgrounds and sit down and go, hey, let's make a knife by the people, for the people. And they really intended this as a companion knife for fishermen, trappers, hunters, trail hikers, and things of that nature. And it does that area very well. It's perfect for those activities. It's not quite a bushcraft survival knife. We'll talk about why here in a second, but it could certainly be a backup knife in those situations as well. And it's crazy light. With the sheath and knife together, it's only like 97 grams, so you will not notice this on your belt. You will not notice this really as a neck knife. This is just perfect for that kind of light duty outdoorsman tasks. Now, getting into the knife itself, this is a smaller knife. I have large, bordering on extra large hands, and I can still make it work. It's about a 2.3 inch cutting edge, 6.1 inches overall, but because of that hump there in the handle, it's still able to fill my hand, whereas if it was straight, my pinky would probably be off. Now, this is a tight fit. If you had fat fingers, you probably would have to use a lanyard, but for me, I do have larger than average hands, so that means most people are probably going to still be just fine with this knife. Now, because it is so thin and it does not have scales, you don't want to really be bearing down on this knife, but that's not the point. This is for just general utility tasks, cleaning, gutting fish, maybe rabbits and things like that. Not necessarily big game, but small to medium-sized game. And as a lightweight trail knife. That's how I've been using it, and how I intend to use it into the future, is putting it on my pack strap so that it's right there in the event of emergency. It's non-threatening, it's light. It's just really cool. Now, one thing that is really neat about it is the jimping is not just the normal place, which is, where you expect it, but they also have the jimping up there towards the tip for very controlled draw cuts. Because it's so small, because you have that jimping, even if you have blood and guts and mud and water on your hands from being in the outdoors, you're still going to get good controlled cuts. It really bites in very well. It's aggressive jimping, but not painful jimping, if that makes sense. So it's very functional. They really thought this out. It's an outdoorsman knife designed by outdoorsmen, and it just works very well. Now, comparing it to some other knives, again, 2.3 inch blade, 6.1 inch overall. Let's bring in some folders here that's going to make it look especially small. Here is the Spyderco Paramilitary 2, which is a long knife. It makes a lot of knives look small. Bring in the 940 from Benchmade, another thing that makes it really look small. But here is the Ontario Rat 2, a small folder, and even this is bigger. So this is definitely a compact knife. This is something you're barely going to notice. And I've actually also put this in my pocket and used it as a substitute for a pocket knife. And it's been great for that as well. Because even though it's a fixed blade, it's so small and it's so lightweight that I don't notice it's there. It's actually much better to carry this sometimes than even something like the Rat 2. I actually have been preferring that over this knife. And this is one of my favorite knives of all time. Now, the obvious comparisons are going to be with the Izula fixed blades. The Izula 1, the Izula 2 like I have here, and the Candiru. This in size is probably closer to the Izula 1 and the Candiru, but has a lot of advantages over the ESEE knives and other similar knives from companies like Tops and whatnot. First of all, being the coating. This is using a Cerakote, and Cerakote is a much tougher coating than the powder coat that ESEE or Tops uses, and it's a better coat because it's better at corrosion resistance. With powder coats, which has been an issue in the past with ESEE, it can actually rust under the coat. So while you think the knife is okay, it's actually not. It's still corroding. So Cerakote is just a more durable, better coat. And on top of that, if you want a lightweight knife, it really doesn't get much lighter than this without becoming a piece of crap. So this is something that is very nice. They're very similar knives, the Izula 2 and the Scout, but they're different. They're for slightly different things. This is more of a harder user knife. It fills the hand more. It's ever so slightly thicker, and it has that bomb-proof warranty. So if I'm worried about breaking one of my small knives, I'm taking the ESEE. But if I have a preference for lightweight and high speed, low drag, I'm taking the Scout. Similar, but different. If you guys want a comparison video that's in more depth, we'll talk about that in the future. Another thing that's going to be very similar is things like the Minimalist line from CRKT. This is the Minimalist Spew, a very similarly small knife, though this is thinner. And so if you're into these kind of knives, the Minimalist line, you're definitely going to like the Scout. Now, with this knife, this is something that I really, really enjoy. It's a really great design, really great guys behind the company. I've talked to them about this knife when I got it. They were super friendly. They are clearly in it because they care about not just the product, but the people that are going to be buying it. It's not just a cash grab or anything like that. They weren't just bored during the pandemic. But mine does have some slight issues, and I have to point those out. Keep in mind, this is batch number 3, very early in the development process. They're probably still on like batch 4, 5 right now, possibly even 6. So the issues you're about to see, they are not going to be on the knife that you're going to get. So first issue is going to be with that Cerakote. This is purely an aesthetic issue. It is not a functional issue. But on the face side, you can kind of see divots and hairlines in there. Possibly the blank had some sort of pitting on one side because it's definitely not on the other. The other side is perfect, but there's definitely blemishes in the Cerakote. Does it matter? No. For $65, do I care? Absolutely not, and I told them that. Cerakoting is hard, and once you get the Cerakote on there, you can't take it off. So if you screw up, you either have to chuck the knife or sell it as a blemish. This should have probably been sold as a blemish, but they're still learning, so I don't really care. The other issue is the edge. Now, this thing is crazy sharp. It will shave hair even now after I did some testing with it. But as you can see, the bevel on this side is definitely different from the bevel on that side. So what I would encourage them to do is focus less on getting a super, super sharp blade and more on an even bevel. I would much rather a duller knife or something like an 1000 grit toothy edge than this near mirror polish, and I'd rather have it be even beveling for when I go to sharpen it in the future. Uneven beveling can cause issues. It's probably not a common issue. They probably corrected it since then. Maybe there was just an issue with the jig that day, but with the coating, with the edge, are these big issues? The coating, not really. The edge, kind of, but it's something they're working on, and they are a small company, and this is a very affordable knife. What is probably going to be a more noticeable issue and potentially a problem in the future is going to be the issue with the sheath. So with the Kydex sheath, this thing is amazing, crazy lightweight. The clip is really nice. It has one of those kind of bulldoggy type clips where it goes on and doesn't want to come off, because if I can get it to bend up here a little bit, it has kind of a catch on there, that itty bitty little tab within that. You can see it right there, that little tab right there. But they put the clip on a little too hard, and the Kydex was a little too thin. So you have a stress fracture right there. You can see that white line. Now, that is likely only aesthetic, just at the surface level. But if it's more integral, eventually this could potentially cause weakening in the Kydex and maybe even a snap in cold weather if this were to really tug or something. Now, just bending it like this, it feels okay. It's likely only aesthetic, but it could potentially be an issue in the future. So for those issues, I really don't care for the price. I already talked to them about it. I bought this purely to support them. You will not have these issues on your knife, especially this issue. I already talked to them about it a month or two ago, and they said that they were going to try switching to a thicker Kydex, and I believe they have done so. But when you have a Cerakote blemish, a sheath blemish, and an edge blemish, the knife should be sold separately as a blemished knife. They are still new. They're still working out the kinks. They're still learning. They have reduced the price to kind of compensate for some of these issues. But 3 issues on the same knife, it really should be sold separately. When I buy the main knife, I should get one that has no issues at all, but ideally, if it does have issues, only like 1. When I have these 3, it should be sold separately at a discounted price. So I would say once these are selling at full retail of $75, if they have another blemished one like this, it probably should be sold for like $60. Take a $15 discount for those blemishes or something like that. I told them I was fine with it. I don't want a replacement, don't want anything. This is a great knife. I'm going to use it. I don't need it to look pretty. But just know, I have issues on mine. I got to point them out, but they're not going to be there on your batch. Again, this is batch number 3. They're probably on 5 or 6 by now, if I had to guess, probably 5. So these are really, really cool, really great. I can highly recommend it. It comes in this colorway. I don't know if there's a name for it off the top of my head, but I know they also have a creamsicle, which is white and orange. Very unique color pattern there. They have a zombie, which is neon green and black. They have a stealth black gray combination. And then they also have a really, really cool one for you fishermen called the Brookie, which is modeled after the colors of brook trout. So I will link this in the description below. Big shout out to those guys. I'm really looking forward to what they do in the future. I'm really looking forward to them maybe coming out with different models, maybe different blade steels. I know they are working on producing, and they have some available, G10 handle inserts for this. I would really love to see them do micarta inserts in the future, especially for fishermen. Micarta is going to be better in those wet environments than G10. So I'm really looking forward to how they'll improve this knife and maybe even come out with a new design at some point. So until then, stay safe, stay informed, and pick up one of these guys for $65. You gotta support a small American knife maker. You just don't want to pass this up.